What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kickash Podcast. We are back here today to discuss a few things outside of the ring and then to take a look at a couple things from AEW Dynamite as well. Thank you, as always, for checking out the show. Really appreciate your time and for viewing the show and or listening wherever you're doing so, wherever you're consuming the show at. I appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at ASHMANNS, and you can follow the show on Twitter and TikTok at Kickash Podcast _ so with that out of the way, like I said, we're gonna get right into it. I don't want this to be too long of a show here tonight, but we had an interesting interview with Edge slash Adam Copeland, and I believe it was with Chris Van Vliet. Yes, it was indeed. So shout out to him. He's really grown his world over there, his channel. He has a CVV Clips channel, I think, as well on YouTube, which does very well, to say the very least. So shout out to him. He seems to be killing it out there. For some reason, it seems he's getting mixed reviews lately, but I guess everyone has their own cup of tea. But I'm not gonna say I've followed him religiously or anything like that, but the interviews that he does are pretty solid, and I like how he's open to interviewing anyone and not really holding much against people and just kind of giving them a platform. So I'm always a fan of that. But to get into the program or the interview rather that he had with Edge slash Adam Copeland, I'm going to read through a couple takeaways here and shout out to ProWrestling.net as usual, Jason Powell over there for the transcription. But in regards to how close he came to debuting for AEW before making his WWE return, Edge said, Adam Copeland, really close. We had great discussions in late 2019. So when I first started talking to AEW, I wasn't cleared yet. I had made it. We talked about it like the bosses of each video game level, but I still wasn't cleared by company doctors, right? So once all of those clearances started to come, I was like, oh, this is real now. Okay. So before I did anything, I had to go kind of get the final clearance needed for either company that I had negotiated with everyone. I was like, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's what I've been told I can do, and started the process. And then in going to WWE and sitting down with Vince, he goes, well, it's got to happen here. At that stage, I look at the equity bill and it felt like having to start over, especially having to start over after having been gone for 9 years felt really daunting, if that makes sense. It felt like at least with WWE, that's one thing off the table that I don't have to worry about. I can come back and walk into the history of this character. I do feel like it needed to have happened there initially. I really do. If for only that Royal Rumble moment right before the pandemic hit and just feeling and experiencing that, I'm happy with the way it turned out. So I mean, and if nothing else, the moment at that Royal Rumble that year, especially that was the same day, I believe, or the day after. I'm pretty sure it was the same day that Kobe died. And it's just still fucking surreal that he's not here with us. But I just remember being so emotional that weekend, and it was just shocking to me because I was one of those. I was like, yeah, he's never coming back, guys. Just chalk it up as an L, and in that regard, as a return, not an L for Edge, right? Because or Adam Copeland, the human, because the most important thing is that he's living his life, and he's living his best life and he's healthy. But the fact that he was able to come back was very surprising to me. He goes on to say why he chose to sign with AEW in 2023. He states, it felt like I had done everything that I was going to do with WWE. I'd worked with the people I wanted to work, 95% anyway, and it really just felt like they were in a direction and I was in a direction. 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. I had a phone call come through. My girl is picking up some food, so had to make sure that was copacetic. Um, excuse me, but going back to what he had to say about joining AEW in 2023, he has said he pretty much had done everything he felt like he wanted to do in WWE. He worked with 95% of the people anyway. And he goes on, it really just felt like they were in a direction and I was in a direction and they were kind of going separate ways. I wanted to be I wanted to be with this limited window I have, I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be there kind of on a weekly basis in order to tell proper stories, and it's tough to do that popping in and out every 3 months or so. And I also get the idea of, well, that keeps it special and I understand that. But again, I'm working with such a limited time frame here that I gotta go while I can go. And I looked at the roster and I just saw, man, so many people that I've never laid hands on and been in the ring with, talking about AEW. The one that seems to blow people's minds is Samoa Joe. In all the years that him and I have been both wrestling, we've never touched. Then I see Moxley and I see Claudio and Brian, and I've never had a proper singles. That's crazy. That's so fucking crazy. I think he's never properly squared up with any of those guys. Swerve and Hangman. And then if you look at the tag teams, FTR, Young Bucks, Penta and Phoenix, man, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let alone all of the young guys that have already wrestled since I've been there. It's just really exciting and almost feels, I don't want to say feels like a kid again because I think that's sailed, but I'm just having fun. With each match, I'm going to try something I've never tried before. I was against Brooklyn the other night. I've never done a blockbuster. I'm going to try to do a blockbuster. Never done a Davy Boy power slam. Let me try that. It's fun to go out there and try new things, especially at this stage of the career. But I think in working new people and a whole roster of new people that I don't know, it's just opened up my brain to all different possibilities, which again makes total sense. And I think that's a mature decision for both, not to hang around, and good for him for not just staying there to collect a paycheck, and really wanting to explore his creative juices, and take advantage of the health that he's been granted and the second chance that he's been given while he can. You know what I mean? Like if WWE just wanted him to come in 2, 3 every like 3, 4 months or whatever, yeah, no, if he can go, then that's the whole point of coming back, right? To be able to go. He goes on, why was Gangrel not a part of his brood run in WWE? He states, I tried and I just got shut down. Every person shut it down. Why? So this isn't a knock on WWE, but I'd always get the, well, nobody remembers. People remember. Wrestling fans remember, and I think wrestling fans want to be rewarded for remembering, and that's a reward for them. That's what I've always felt. I think you fast forward to me and Matt Cardona doing a Cope Open, and his music hits and he comes out. I mean, they remembered. And so I've always been a fan of pulling things in from the past and kind of integrating them into current things. But yeah, that's just one that I keep getting shut down. I realized, okay, that's not a hill that I want to die on, and it's not going to happen. So essentially, they just went about it, which is a shame because I think that would have really just really solidified that version of Edge. When he was in that, especially man, when he had that fiery entrance, like it just would have been fucking perfect. And then on the Flaming Table spot with Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22, which is fucking tremendous and crazy at the same time. If you haven't seen that, WrestleMania 22 is a very highly underrated WrestleMania, in my opinion, as well as the overall pay per view. So definitely go and check that out. He says, it was part of my plan. I've always said this. If you see something stupid that I do, chances are it was my idea. Whether it's the AA off of a ladder through 2 tables, which was at Unforgiven 2006, another pay-per-view that's underrated. That was in Canada as well. Tremendous. Whether it's a flaming table, chances are it was my stupidity. Yeah, I don't even have like a good answer as to why. I mean, obviously, I'm a masochist on some level, but I think every pro wrestler is. You don't rehearse that at all, to the point where it didn't even dawn on me until I was running to the flames. I was like, I don't have a shirt on and I'm diving face first into this thing. Mick's got 3 layers on it. He's going through back first, and that sucks too. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't until I was making that leap I was like, oh man, I've just got to bury my head into Mick here and just hope for the best. It still burned my arm, burned a bunch of my hair off, burned my knuckles. All I could smell was burnt hair. As I was crawling over, I looked over at my arm and it was bubbling. Oof. All right, not the wisest choice, but again, at that stage of my life, I was all about that was it. I don't know what that means. It was that job, and it was about getting to the top of that job. Yeah, that's usually when you catch lightning in a bottle. So fun little recap there. I definitely want to check out the interview in full. Um, but it's just really cool to listen to Adam Copeland Edge talk. I think he's one of the minds out there, and I hope they utilize him in AEW. But I think he's one of the minds out there that just doesn't get credit for his creativity, and now his longevity as well. I mean, obviously he was gone for 9 years, but he still brings a lot to the table, and I hope that they are really utilizing him behind the scenes with AEW. With that being said, there is one other thing that I wanted to discuss really quick here. It's just kind of odd to me that as a wrestling community, we not even shame, but we blame female wrestlers for wearing certain attire and saying, oh, well, if you weren't showing so much skin, then men wouldn't say certain comments, and men wouldn't be enticed to make comments to you. And yeah, you can appreciate women for their looks and the beauty and things like that, but it's like, yo, like when you're being disgusting and you're saying shit and you're blaming them for their wrestling attire to how a man reacts, then that's on you, my guy, and that makes you a piece of shit. So Whatever's going on Twitter right now, and it's just dumb, and it's disgusting, and it just shows immaturity. So it's like if you can't control yourself, then that's a you problem, and that's sad. And sorry guys, I have to lighten the mood. If you can hear and see the Fortnite in the background, that'll be getting hit up later. I turned it on to see if there was another fucking update that needed to be done because there's always an update, and the PS4 it takes forever. But moving on to Dynamite, I wanted to obviously touch on a couple things from there. The the what AEW seems to do, and it kills me every time, is they will hype something and they'll make it seem like the person is going to be there, right? Like, oh, next week we'll have a major announcement, or we'll hear some breaking news, or we'll have a pretty much a big deal, a big announcement from a Kenny Omega. And they don't show up, or it's something that was pre-taped, or they're behind the scenes, which most likely means it was pre-taped as well. So they just gotta stop doing that. Like if you're hyping something like that and you're going to promote having someone and make a special announcement or state something where it's not just a regular match or a regular promo, or we'll hear from, and that's normally what we get to sometimes. We'll hear from MJF, and it's a pre-tape from last week, and MJF is behind, like, backstage, and it's right after he retained the title or some shit like that, and it's like, don't hype that up that way, because then you have a false hope and a false pretense that that person's actually going to be there. So, with that being said, it leads me to the Kenny Omega of it all. Kenny Omega, of course, it was hyped up that we had an important announcement from Kenny Omega, right? So we get to it, and Kenny Omega was shown sitting in a hospital bed, which I appreciate the follow up and the continuation from the story, but it's just, and that's not even my problem. Like, I like having him there, like, just starting off the bat, like, that's great. Following up, that's perfect. But don't hype it up that we're going to hear from him, or he has an important announcement, and make the perception, especially since they're still in Canada, that he's going to be there. So I just didn't like that. But again, he was shown sitting in a hospital bed, and he said he appreciated Matthew Jackson reminding him that the attack was just business. He stated that May 26th, which is Double or Nothing, will mark the 5-year anniversary of when it all started. And then Omega challenged the Elite to face Team AEW in Anarchy in the Arena. Omega spoke of FTR being on Team AEW and hinted that 2 other wrestlers would reveal themselves to the Elite that night, which ended up being Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. Totally get Eddie Kingston. But to me, the gap of the last time we saw Bryan Danielson, dude was convulsing in the ring. Like, just, he went through this crazy match. He took like, he took what we're supposed to believe is this insane amount of impact to his neck or possibly his head. He got knocked out by the Tiger Driver 91. So it's like, what, we go from that to hearing, unless I missed something, and I could be wrong. If I am, let me know. But we hear nothing, and then now all of a sudden he's back, and then he's going into Anarchy in an arena match. To me, like, that space and that lack of continuation and just threading there. And again, unless I missed something, if I did, on me, man. Totally will admit that. But and if he did, then it wasn't made as a big enough deal. But I don't like that you go from that pretty serious storyline, that pretty serious angle where Ospreay didn't even want to use the move anymore, to now Danielson's back. He's part of Team AEW, which is fine. But now he's going to be in an Anarchy in the Arena match. Just didn't make sense to me. I think Eddie Kingston is perfect for it, though. I think he's a shoo-in, and he's definitely someone that you would want and would make sense to rep Team AEW. I am surprised, though, that we're getting this match so soon. The fact that it's already Team AEW versus the Elite, Team Elite, essentially. I don't know why we just go straight to this match. I don't know why we don't have maybe a tag team match and then a 6-man match and then just like baby steps leading up to it. To me, that's kind of odd. But I don't really. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt on that. But even if we just go to the arena match and then we backtrack from there, that makes no sense to me. Like, why would you want a standard tag team match after that? And I think they did that previously as well. So it's just kind of strange order. But I obviously don't think this is going to be the end, and I see the Elite getting the victory there. And I think we're gonna get a interference, which not even an interference since there's no rules, right? But an appearance probably rather from Hangman Page, and I think he's going to be joining the Elite, which is nothing probably shocking. But I think it's time for an official bad guy Hangman and to see what he can do and what he can bring. And that's why I said it's just strange that they're starting off this way because obviously the end game is to get Kenny Omega back and everything. But I just and to have the then you can break it off. Then you can have Kenny Omega versus Okada and Omega. You can even break it off. Have Omega versus Matthew Jackson one night, and then Omega versus Nicholas Jackson the other night. I think that'd be a really cool singles match to see, and just kind of building the way up. And again, not rushing Omega back at all, but it's just I don't know why we're going straight to this match. So we'll see. And again, I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt on that one, but it's just kind of odd to me. And again, the fact that we're just throwing Brian in there for I'm not gonna say no real reason, but just with completely sidetracking what he just went through with Osprey. And speaking of Osprey, where the fuck is Osprey, man? He wasn't there last week, and he wasn't there this week. I get maybe you want to go under the idea of a special attraction, but no, like this dude, he said he's gonna be here full time. He said he's here for the grind, and it's like he wins his opportunity to face off against Roderick Strong at Double or Nothing for the international championship, and then he just disappears, and we've gotten no build, and I'm just like, what happened? Like, where did he go? Like, again, if I missed something, you guys please let me know. But I have no idea what happened. And again, it's not even like I was in the camp that I wanted him to be facing off for the international championship to begin with. I was like, there's potential and a possibility that he can make something of that title and then make it more prestigious and then possibly have a unification match for that in the heavyweight championship a few months down the road, whether that's at Wembley, at All In or not. But it's just strange. He just disappeared. I just I don't know. I feel like I had to have missed something. So please let me know, guys. But the fact that he's such a big star, man, and he's just connecting so well with the fans, and maybe it's something that he can't get into. I'm no, he's definitely been into Canada, so it can't be anything like that. I don't know. I don't know. You guys need to educate me on that one, on where Osprey's been. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about here from Dynamite really quick is Mercedes Moné. And I'm just so conflicted with her. I don't know if she's gonna be a bad guy, 100% makes not gonna say 100%, but it makes sense the route that we're going down. That part makes sense. I think it's been convoluted when it didn't necessarily need to be. Yes, you want to bring her back as a babyface when she first debuts, 100%, and maybe even a week or two after that. But you should have dropped a seed, like a big seed, a big flag that she is going to be the bad guy in this feud and going forward. And especially against Willow, like I will die on the hill that you do not need to make Willow a bad guy. Yes, she could be a good bad guy, down the road, but to me, and what a lot of people have compared her to, she is Bailey, circa NXT. She is that character that you just love to love. And that's so rare nowadays, and it's so pure and so genuine. I don't know why you would want to do anything to jeopardize that. And I don't think it's worth it with Mercedes Moné in a sense that she's the better heel anyway. And I think that's better suited for the roster when Britt Baker comes back. You can, even if you want to go straight to that match, because as much as it pains me to say, like I'm sure Mercedes is going to win the title, as much as I'd love to see Willow get a longer run. But then you can have a returning Dr. Britt Baker come back and square off against Mercedes and have a good guy Britt Baker versus a bad guy Mercedes. And I think that's no pun intended, money. You know what I mean? So I think that's the route that they should go. I don't know. I mean, of course, maybe Dr. Britt Baker would be involved in the TBS championship or the women's championship route rather. But I don't know. Like and to me it brings up another point too with why we have two women's championships when they're not specifically defined. So in my opinion and in my view, the TBS title would be underneath the women's championship, right? It would just make sense. But you have Mercedes come in and go after strictly the TBS championship right off the bat. So it's just one of those things where too many titles and too many questions and too many problems in that regard. But I just wanted to get a quick video out here, guys. I have to jump off. I have to go jump in the shower, take care of some things, eat some dinner. But yeah, I just wanted to come up here and do a quick recap. As always, thank you guys so much for checking out the show, checking out the channel. I really appreciate it. Appreciate all the likes, the subscriptions, everything like that. So if you have any questions or if you have any feedback or any comments of any of my takes or anything like that, let me know in the comments here. I'm gonna try to do better about getting. For some reason, I don't get notification. My phone sucks. I'm probably gonna have to upgrade it, which I just got this phone 2 years ago. But for whatever reason, I don't get notifications, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But until next time, guys, thank you so much again, as always, for checking out the show. Stay safe out there and just enjoy some wrestling, guys, and enjoy your life. Take care.